Welcome, Let Freedom Ring. My guest this week, John Champa. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Did I said it right, Champa?
Yep, Champa.
But it's spelled different than Tommaso Champa.
Yeah, no I.
I
actually grew up playing basketball with a friend who, his name was Gio, had the same last name but spelled it with an I. And like Gio and whatever, I think it's like Italian or something, was also translated to like John. So we had the same name but just spelled differently, like first and last name.
Too funny. Yeah, I always was like, I remember when I first saw his name written, I was like, that doesn't make sense. But my name is Bollier and doesn't make sense anywhere, so.
Definitely doesn't sound how it looks, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. But let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I actually grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire. I've lived there probably my whole entire life. I think we moved there when I was like maybe 3 or 4 months old, I think. So I've lived in the same house my entire life. Went through the school system in Nashua, Ledge Street, Elm Street, Nashua High School South. Yeah, so all the good things about it.
Nice. Now, you played sports in high school for South?
I did, yeah. So I grew up playing football, basketball, and baseball. And when I was younger, I got scared of, I didn't want to get hit by a pitch playing baseball. So I kind of like dropped the whole baseball thing, stuck with basketball and football. And you could be like a 12-season athlete in high school, and they're like, well, all your friends are doing it, you might as well do it. So I was like, all right, I'll try lacrosse. Even though I wanted to play tennis, my mom was like, you're not playing tennis. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So I played lacrosse, football, and basketball. And I definitely had a soft spot for basketball growing up. That was my favorite sport. I would play like travel, like AAU, all that stuff for basketball. So, yeah.
Very cool. Did you, now he recently passed away, he's a friend of mine, one of my college roommates. Did you play for Bill Munson?
I did, yeah. That was really sad. I was actually, the great thing about having him as a coach is, you never see eye to eye with everyone, especially as like a 15, 16-year-old kid, having this guy, directing you, yelling at you during practice, whatever. But it's funny, as you grow up, like now I'm 23, you're like, you know what, maybe I was the problem at some point. So you're like, maybe I shouldn't have been so harsh towards him at times. And because me and my friends will sit around a campfire and we'll just laugh and reminisce on stories and stuff like that revolve honestly mostly around him. So he was great. We loved him. But like I said, you butt heads. But it was, that was very sad. But
yeah, Bill is a great guy. I mean, we grew up in the same neighborhood, and then he transferred to Plymouth State at one point, and we all had a house.
Oh, that's
we had
awesome.
like the Nashua apartment.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, there was a time I was working at Ledge Street, and I really wanted out of that job, and it was Bill that got me he got me out of there. He got me the job, and I ended up working at the school over here. But yeah, he's a great guy, and he's dearly missed. Yeah,
for sure. He did a lot for people more than you'd think. Whatever it may be, he came across as like this really like hard guy, but he really cared about you if you were close with him or around him all the time. Like he was also like my lacrosse coach too for those few years I played lacrosse, so I got to know him a lot.
Yeah, I think coaching fit him perfectly. And
yeah.
I know when we were in college, I think that's when he started, because I think he used to go back home sometimes for coaching.
Oh, okay.
He really had a passion for it.
Oh, yeah, he loved it. I feel like it's hard to, especially what you said, he was going down, driving from Plymouth to Nashua?
Plymouth's about an hour and 15.
Right, especially doing that as a college kid, that's something you're going to have to do, especially for two sports, football and lacrosse. You're going to have to really want to, you have to enjoy coaching to want to do that.
Absolutely. It was a great fit for him. I got to ask this. What are 3 things that everybody should know about you?
So 3 things about me. But most people obviously wouldn't. I've had quite a few knee surgeries on my knees. I've had 3 within the span of, I think it was about 12 months. I had 2 meniscus surgeries in my left knee, then an ACL and meniscus in my right. So that's one of the bummer facts about me. I was born with 1 kidney. That's always like my go-to fun fact with people. Like growing up, you do like icebreakers when you first day of school, whatever. That was my first fact all the time, was that I was born with 1 kidney. And then I actually have a pretty sweet, it's more of a volunteer. I do freelance work for Barstool Sports, which is
Oh,
pretty
really?
awesome. Yeah.
This got bought back.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
They got it back. It was quite exciting news yesterday, actually. I mean, I have no real like affiliate with anyone besides like one guy there who I do like a few projects for on like social media, but other than that, it's it's just me working with this one guy basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, do you only need one kidney? I don't know.
I think so. I mean,
You never had another one put in?
I've never had an issue. I've from what I know, I was born like I was told I could play football with it growing up, like all sports. I just have to stay hydrated, I think, is what my doctor always told my mom. And I think the funny thing was I never really looked into it because I know if I did look into it, I'd probably find all the things wrong with like what could go wrong and all the bad stuff that could happen with it. So I just stay clear from digging deeper into it. I just trust what my mom told me at a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know the functions of it. I should know all that stuff.
I probably should too, but I don't.
All right, I got to ask you this. This is the money question, sticking with the theme of the show, which is Let Freedom Ring. We ask every guest this, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What does it mean to you to be an American?
So I think, like, in simpler words, being an American is awesome. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and there's no one to tell you you can or can't, I think, like, it really is that simple as that you can just, like, be whatever it is you want to be. It's pretty simple to me.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, now I want to ask, what does it mean to you? I'm sure everyone else knows, but I don't know.
And I've said on the show, and I think my answer sometimes changes, but being an American to me is the land of opportunity, but I understand we're not perfect. And it's not the same. It's not the same opportunity for everybody. And that's something I've had to accept. When you're a kid, you think, yeah, like, but it can happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I also, big thing for me being American is I embrace our diversity, and that's something I love about our country. They're only anybody that can say they're a Native American are Native Americans.
Right.
Everyone else has come here in different ways, in the different stories, and we're a melting pot, and I'm very proud of what we are, but I never am one to be like, we're perfect.
Absolutely not.
100%. Because we're not, but I'm proud of where I'm from, and I don't use any other terms for American citizens other than American, and free thought and free.
That's the best thing about it. You can say whatever you want, to the extent.
To the extent, we've had this debate on the show where they're like, no, they'll cancel you. I go, but it's not the government canceling you.
Right.
It's the government can't come to your house and arrest you for things you said.
Right, exactly.
Threatening things.
Yeah, exactly.
Different, but you can have an opinion, and that's okay.
Exactly.
This whole show is based on opinions.
Right.
So that's around my answer. There's probably more to it, and I probably answered the question differently different times.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm very, very proud American.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Gotta ask this, because we talked, it was in the advertisement for you on the show. Because you just recently graduated from Southern New Hampshire University.
Yes, the end of April.
Which is super exciting. Are you a four-year student? Or
Yeah, I actually, my sophomore year is when it was about probably 6 months in my sophomore year is when they sent everybody home. And I did the online classes for, I think it was 6 weeks is what we had left in the semester. And I was like, this is not for me. I don't like the online classes. And they made it, like, it was pretty certain that we were, at least going to do that following fall and following spring semester online again. So I was like, you know what? I'm not messing with that. Like, that's not for me. I learned from the past 6 weeks. I'm not doing it. So what I decided to do is I took a gap year in between my sophomore and junior year. And I always planned on finishing. So once we were back onto campus, and me personally, I had such a great first year and a half. I was like, I don't want to miss out on, being here with all my friends. Maybe it sounds kind of silly, but I was there mostly for the experience, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go back when, they let us back, and that's what I did. So after that full year of online school, I went back for my junior and senior year, and, I graduated a year later than what I was, supposed to. But, yeah, finished about 4 months ago.
Awesome. Congratulations on that.
You.
And, yeah, I mean, honestly, that's got to be tough in the pandemic. Like, are you thinking, and I know how I was much older. It's like, all right, I'm going to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's that like as a college student to be like, you're right, you're not going to be with your friends all the time now?
Yeah, it was just tough. I guess for the most part, during that time period. Me and my friends were pretty, cautious, safe about it. Especially my mom was kind of a little overboard about the whole thing. So, and I understand, no one had any idea what was going on. But so when it comes to hanging out with my friends stuff, that was never really different. We still hung out, did whatever. I mean, but I think the crazy thing about that time period for me was I started like my first like real job. Like I was a cashier for like 3 months one summer, and that wasn't really anything. But then I picked up a full-time job. I was working like 45, 50 hours a week, which I thought it was really like eye-opening for me. It was pretty crazy, but I actually really enjoyed the job. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just a crazy time. But I agree. I didn't go to college right away. I took classes at the community college on Amherst Street. And I did want to, I eventually transferred to Plymouth because it was like, you're right. Like, I think that is part of it. Not everybody has to do it, but I did want to be on a campus and start my kind of life that way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's actually funny because I was with my girlfriend's sister, boyfriend the other day. He's like 17, 18. He's going into his freshman year. I was like, man, like I loved being at school. Like it was great. But now I start paying my student bills soon, and I was like, yeesh. And like, this is going to be tough. Like, maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe I should have, like, listened to my mom when she was like, hey, try to be an RA so you have to pay for living there. So, yeah.
It's part of it. I mean, it is. Trust me, I send that every month, and it takes a part of my soul.
It's going to be like one of my 2 paychecks every month just to pay for my school. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
And they can work with you on things, too, but I got to ask this, though. You know, it is tough when one graduates from high school and it's just like, all right, figure it out. Like, and I'm getting older now, and I have friends that have kids graduating high school. What are you thinking when you decide to go to college? Was that just like the ultimate goal, or was there other things that you're like, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that?
So I never really thought about not going to college, and it wasn't like, so growing up, I remember even like kindergarten, first grade, my teacher's talking about college. And I kind of thought that's just what you had to do. Mm-hmm. It wasn't ever forced on me by anyone, not by like my family or teachers, whatever. But they're kind of like, all right, so you finish high school, then you go to college. I'm like, all right. So that was kind of it. I was just like, all right. And I tried hard in high school. Like, I got good grades, and I was like, let's just go to college. It wasn't really like, it was a choice I had made at a young age, but it also didn't really feel like a choice. It just, if that makes any sense.
No, I feel the same way.
Yeah. And then, I picked a great school. I loved it there. It was the best, I guess, 5 years of my life. Four and some extra time. But yeah, I really liked it. I never thought it was ever like forced upon me or whatnot. So
no, I was the same way. Like I just thought I did think like that's just what you do. But at one point, I fractured my ankle in high school. And
I done the same thing.
I was not going to school as much and all that, and had a rough go there. I graduated, but I didn't have the best grades. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I didn't know what I was going to do, so I just went to the community college. But like, you're right, there was nothing else in my mind that I was going to do. And I think that's like kind of like ingrained in society now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like in high school, I didn't try. Like, I actually tried really hard. I just wasn't ever super smart. And I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, I was late to applying to college. Like, I kind of just, like, didn't take it super seriously. And I was like, it's funny because when I picked my school, I really only picked it because that was the only school I had, like, heard back from in time. By the time we had to pick, I was like, well, I just am going to go here now, But I don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
I don't regret anything I did throughout high school, whether it's try harder, study more, whatever. I don't regret anything.
No, absolutely. Same. And it's just tough. I feel for like younger people. I guess I can say that now because I'm almost 40.
Right. I'm starting to feel like I can say that. I'm only 23.
But like it is a lot when someone, 18 years old, graduating from high school, and you're making decisions that can impact long-term things. But at the same time, what I've learned as I've gotten older is like other things work out. Like life is going to work itself out, and I think there is a lot of pressure on kids at that age.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I got to ask this question because you brought it up when we were talking about the show. You were the first to graduate in your family from college?
Yes, I was. That was. I don't ever really express it to anybody, but that's one of the things I'm definitely like most proud of. My dad went to. I don't remember exactly what school it was, but he did like 2 years at school. I had an older sister that I think went to NCC as well, but like did a semester or something. And not very many of my like extended family either has a degree, from what I'm aware of. At least I could be wrong on that one. So I thought it was really cool. It was something I was proud of, and gave myself a little pat on the back for. I thought it was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. I mean, I think I want to say I don't know much about my family outside my immediate, but pretty sure my mom had associates, my dad had a master's, so they were the first two, I guess, and then all my brothers ended up doing the same. But no, I always love to hear stories about that.
Yeah, and it's great because I didn't really have a good example of an older sibling in front of me, but I feel like me doing everything I've done throughout my life, getting good grades, playing sports, going to college, graduating from college, really helped. I'm hoping it helped my younger brother, he actually went to school with me last year for a year, which is kind of cool because we were always like 4 years apart, so we were never in like high school together or even like middle school, whatever it was, because of that age difference. But because of the gap year that I took, we got to spend 1 year in college together, which I thought was really cool. But I think it's great that he hopefully sees what I'm doing and is now like setting himself on the correct path too. So that's also something I get a little happy about too. Maybe it might not be true. Maybe you've always planned to do it, but I like to think I might have had some, a little part of it.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. I want to ask this, though. We've had Matty Hines on the show. You familiar with Matty Hines?
I love Matty Hines. He's a great guy.
And I know you play a little bit into the mud football, which, they have these tournaments that go on. How'd you get involved with the mud football?
Okay, so the mud football is my favorite thing in the world. Like, if there was one thing I don't know, like, it's the thing I look forward to the most. Like, it gets me so excited. I got into it I started playing flag football probably October of 2020. Some friends from school were like, hey, do you want to play? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, I play at school in like the intramural leagues, and it was cool, it was fun. And I was always one of like the better kids. I was like, yeah, let's try it. And I didn't realize there's like this whole little like flag football world.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
The Tampos or whatever.
Yeah. Getting started.
The Forsyths.
Yeah. But, and I started off and I was just playing with, it was just friends at the time. And then I was still, one of like the better kids on the team. I was playing against other teams, like one of the better guys on the field. And then I started getting noticed a little bit by some of like, the better, like the real like good teams, like there's like A, B, C level teams, whatever, getting noticed by the A level guys. And then, so I started playing with this guy, and so he was like the captain, his name was Randy. And then one of his teammates, David, we were all playing together. He's like, hey, like I play in another league on Wednesday nights. Like, do you want to play? I was like, yeah. So I play with this team called the Gumbies, which is the mud football team I play for. And they're like, oh, like if you want to like come back and like keep playing with us, like absolutely, like you play great. Like we appreciate you coming. I was like, all right, cool. And they started talking about this Mud Bowl thing probably 3 or 4 months before it was about to happen. It happens in July and August, or July and September. There's 2 tournaments. And they're like, do you want to try it? And this team, the Gumbies, has like a really like rich history kind of thing for this whole Mud Bowl tournament stuff. And they were in like a rebuilding phase. Like they had just split up with the other half of their team, and they were really looking for guys. They're really desperate. I was like, yeah, sure. I went up my first tournament in July and just like I killed it. Like they were like, you were the best player there. And I was like, wow, like that's awesome. Like I was like, whoa, like really, like this is my first time here. Like I don't even know if I was doing good. Like yeah, like you're great. So I got involved with that. Then I play, like that other one in September, and they're like, you're with us for life. Like you can't leave now. You can't go play for other teams. Like you're with us. But that's how I got involved, was through just playing like flag football and kind of working my way up pretty quickly actually, which is great. But playing with all these different guys, and like, come play with us. I was like, all right, cool. So yeah.
And are you still pretty active with the flag football?
So I haven't played flag football since November, okay. I think, because that's right when I tore my ACL. But I still go to hang out with that Gumbies team, and there's another team I play for that night. I go every Wednesday and just hang out with them because it's more, it's one of those like cliche, like we're a family, yep. kind of thing. You get it with softball and stuff.
Sure.
So I go hang out with them. I see them every week. It's as if like I'm like not actually injured. Obviously I am. But yeah, so I see them, and we hang out and stuff on the weekends whenever, we build, like we have to build a float. We just finished doing that last weekend for the Mud Bowl tournament in North Conway. They have like this big celebration throughout like the whole town. So yeah, we see each other all the time. It's great.
Now, is that how you got injured, or?
No, funny enough, I played in the 2 Mud Bowls last year on a torn meniscus, and that's when my knee felt the best. And then this past July, I had to miss the first one, which was really sad, and because I'm still recovering. I'm like almost 7 months into my ACL rehab.
Okay.
But I was, messing around in the mud a little bit, running around, all that good stuff, and it actually felt great. So I'm planning on playing in September, unless my doctor really, really doesn't recommend it, which she probably will, but who knows. But so I haven't played yet, but it feels great when I play in it, messing around with it. So
now, you said there was one tournament in North Conway. Where's the other?
The other one is in the middle of nowhere, Maine. It's Kingfield, Maine. It's I think it's like a 4-hour drive.
Oh, wow.
It's just straight that way. I think there's like one point where you're just on the same highway or road, whatever it is, for like 2 hours.
Now, do you know Matty Hines from Mud Football? Like, did you play against his team?
So I originally met Matty from softball.
Okay.
Yeah, and then saw him up there. My first year was 3 years ago, whenever it was. So that's how I met him. And we actually, the Gumbies and his team's the Mudcats, same for softball.
Yeah.
They like never play each other. It's always just like a random draw for who you play and who you don't play, whatever. And we actually played them for the first time this past July, the one I wasn't in. I'm pretty sure. It's either that or we play them in September. I'm not too sure. But so we will get to square off finally. I know we play them in September. I don't know if we did in July.
Okay, so that's the big local showdown.
Yeah, it might be. Unfortunately, the Mudcats, they're not that great.
Yeah, I never heard them come back and be like, yeah, we won a bunch of games.
No, never. Yeah. I personally don't know if I've actually ever seen them win a game. I mean, I love those guys. They're actually all really good dudes too. But I just don't know if they actually ever win when they go up there. They're more there for the fun time.
Do you think if they played together in like a flag league or something else, they could?
I think so. I actually have noticed them in the Sportsplex. A couple of them, not all their guys, because it's only like 5-on-5.
Yeah.
I have noticed they have put in a team before, but I think it was for only like 1 8-week session.
Okay.
I do think it would help because that's what my team does. That's our like practice. Like, yeah, you can't replicate playing in the mud like that. It's not possible. I mean, you can try the water, but it's not the same. But I think it would help with the team chemistry and just, like timing on stuff like the quarterback and the route running and stuff like that. But
oh, you can tell. I mean, I do the Turkey Bowl every year that I run. And you can tell, we try to make it draft, but before that, you could just tell the teams of, quarterback just knows where that guy's going to be.
Right, exactly.
Every time.
Just playing with them enough, you really get an understanding, for your guys, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, what's your favorite part of playing and the overall experience?
It really just is so fun. You get to feel like a bigger version of like a little kid. You are just flopping around like mud covered head to toe, like in your nose and your ears and your eyes, like you can't see half the time. I think it really is just like I love football, like I love watching, I played it. It's like that aspect of football and then being a little kid, it's just like put them together and it just makes it incredible. It's so fun. Like I get so excited talking about it.
And a lot of spectators there and everything?
The July one in Kingfield, it's more of just, it's actually like down, so it's like I said, 4 hours away, middle of nowhere. It's down a dirt road in like this big old farm basically, like it's in someone's backyard. So not a lot of spectators there, more of just like the other teams and their families that go, if they go up, because that's quite a trip to make. But the North Conway one in September, like the whole town comes and watches. It's actually really cool. So the field is at the bottom of this hill, and like the hill goes pretty high up, and there's like levels to it. So you go up and then it's flat, it's up and then it's flat, like 4 or 5 times up that way. So the people from the town come and like watch, which I think is really cool.
Now, what is the teams that are winning this thing? Where are they from?
So from what I'm aware of, the last like 10 years, there's this team. Their name was the Muddas. They're all, from what I know, most of them are scattered around. Like there's some Western Mass, there's some Central Mass guys, but they're getting a little older.
Yeah.
So they're on the wrong side of the hill, unfortunately. There's this team called the Crocs. I think they're mostly North Conway. Like I think one like the quarterback for the Crocs has like his own steakhouse or something up by the field.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's probably the best team, and then us. It's like us and the Crocs have battled for. We lost him in the championship.
Oh, okay.
They scored like a minute left or something, and we lost that game. But yeah, like those are the two teams that really go at it. And then there's another team from Nashua. I mentioned earlier that the Gumbies had like a split a few years ago. That team's pretty good too, but I don't think they're there yet like the way we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I always see the pictures. Frank Delichai goes up to watch. People are like, you want to ever go up and check this out? I'm like, and then I hear the drive and I go, maybe.
Yeah. the drive is definitely the most unappealing part of it. Like after that, it's all a lot of fun. But my thing would be, for me personally, like I said, it's my favorite thing to do. I had to drive 4 hours and I had to watch. And that, like, yes, it was fun to watch, but it also stunk. Not like knowing you play in it, but you couldn't. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like just being a spectator would be really hard because like I just had to do that and it was very difficult.
Yeah, no, injuries are tough and sitting out. I mean, I've had it in high school when I fractured my ankle with wrestling. I had it with tearing my rotator cuff in softball.
We've had very similar injuries. I broke like the growth plate in my right ankle when I was a sophomore, and then I tore my labrum in this shoulder when I was a junior, I think. So we got pretty similar injury history.
Well, I'll say just stay as healthy as you can until because once you get over 30, it's like it was a slow progression of like I'm hitting. I was pretty built in my early 30s, and then all of a sudden there was like a trickle down effect of all these injuries, and I'm like, oh, I'm not recouping like I was. I'm telling you, it's Father Time is gonna always win.
It does, and it's tough because I especially like realizing I'm not going back to like school because like even when you're in college, like you're still a kid. Like let's be real. That's knowing I'm not going back in 2 weeks. Like my little brother is starting to really hit me. Like okay, like you're a grown up now. You are no longer a child. So I get it. It's a harsh realization, but I've noticed it.
Yeah, it is what it is. I guess it's what we signed up for in a way.
Yeah, in a way.
I want to ask real quick, how did you get involved with softball? Because that's how I know you.
So, Jay, his son Nick, he's been my best friend since, basically the womb. And we always talked about it growing up, like, oh, we can't wait to play, when we were teenagers. Can't wait to play. I think my dad might have played in it a long time ago. I'm not too sure about that. I think he did. So he's like, come on, like, it's fine. Like, we're 18 now, 19, whatever it was. My dad needs guys. Like, do you want to play? I was like, absolutely. Yeah, simple as that. So just waited my time, and then it finally came, and now I'm playing.
Yeah, no, and Nick's a great kid. I like Nick a lot.
I was actually golfing with him today.
Well, it's funny because when I worked at Ledge Street, you guys were students there. Like, I finally made that connection at some point. I was like, man.
That was funny when you pointed that out to me that one day. I was like, oh, no way. Who would have thought?
I think you're Facebook friends with some of the teachers on there.
Yes.
And Deb Lennox.
Yeah. So my younger brother is the same age as her kids, and then a year older than the other one.
Yeah.
And like they have grown up like best friends. So we see them pretty frequently. Like my little brother goes on vacation with them like twice a year or whatever it is. He's always at their house. Like he just house sat for them the other day. So I see them all the time, yeah. They were my favorite teachers when I was there as a kid. Loved them.
Yeah, they had a really good staff there. You do have one fan question from Jennifer Marie Corbett. Yes, ask him who is one of his biggest fans.
So funny enough, that's actually Nick's mother.
Okay. Okay.
And it's definitely her. I've noticed, like, as you grow up and you do a lot of things and, like, you're successful in a lot of those things you do. I feel like I've had pretty good success with most of the stuff I've done. People definitely don't like to see you do well for whatever reason that may be. And even if they show that or, like, they say it to you, like, they want to see you do well, most of the time they don't even really mean it. They kind of just say it. But she's one of the persons that is, like, always been in my corner. She's always been great. She always wants to see us do great. So it's definitely her.
Awesome.
She's definitely the biggest fan.
Nice.
Love that lady. She's like a second mother.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry, I might have missed this. Did you and Nick grow up in the same neighborhood?
Yeah, he was right down the street from, or I was right down the street from him, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Atomic Launch will rise.
Atomic Launch will rise. Yeah, one day.
Yeah. I had a fun time playing on the team this year.
Yeah, it was a good, 4 games for me.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll have you back. We'll
Good.
talk about that after.
Yeah.
But you are a big WWE fan.
Oh yeah.
So I do have a few things because you have taken and I've talked to you before. You've taken some very radical takes on the product.
Yeah, I have.
So I just want to ask this first question. I don't know if you've seen the Cody Rhodes documentary yet.
I did. It's very good.
Well, actually, before I ask that, I want to ask this: how did you become a wrestling fan?
I don't really remember how I became one because I was very young. I have like CDs all the way back from like 2002 that I like can kind of remember watching. I was born in 2000. Like it just was kind of on, I guess. Like my first wrestling memory, I think. Like I used to love the Hurricane. The guy that would come out and do this thing with the cape and like the green dust or whatever it was. Like that's my first thing. So I think it was just on in my house. I think like maybe my father watched it or something, but I just stuck with it. I loved it. I looked forward to every Friday and Monday night. It was the best thing in the world.
So you kind of were born after, really? I mean, the Attitude Era is still in, but you're just born. Attitude Era probably, I like to say it ended in 2001 when you bought WCW. That's where I like to end it. So you were born after the fact of that.
Yeah.
That's interesting because that's like the Cena years. But, all right, yeah. Yeah, so were you a Cena fan then?
Oh, I was the biggest John Cena fan. The biggest. I never really had like the gear that he had, but I always had like the action figures and stuff. I had all the John Cena ones. Him and Rey Mysterio as a young kid were my two favorite. I feel like most kids probably my age that watched wrestling at the time, it was probably those two. Jeff Hardy was a big one too. People love Jeff Hardy.
See, that made a lot of sense. And, the thing about Cena is like when Cena was on the rise, now I'm in my early 20s. Mm-hmm. And I went through the Attitude Era.
Right.
And I when I was a kid, I was a little Hulkamaniac. I was a Bret Hart and I was a Bret Hart fan. But then I went through the Attitude Era and wanted that style because then who became the hero? Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock.
Right.
These guys with a lot of attitude. Attitude Era. And then it went to Cena, who did have that, and then they toned him down and they made him modern day Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And I remember just hating Cena because it's not what I wanted out of wrestling.
Right.
But he did draw with the kids and
yeah, definitely. He definitely had that effect. Honestly, as silly as it sounds, it might have just been like the bright colors. It really like just on his, that he was always changing dark purple, red, orange. Like that was the big thing is you look at the colors, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, he said hustle, loyalty, respect.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan was say your prayers and eat your vitamins. You know what I mean? So it was very, very modern day. And for years, those people that, that demographic of 18 to 35 just booed the hell out of Cena as much as possible.
It's funny because looking back at his stuff, like now, I can totally see why it was like that. Because some of this stuff, especially as he got like older, when he's kind of phased out a little bit, it was a little corny. Like it got a little corny.
Yeah, I mean, but they were selling a lot of merch and to like kids in the female part of the audience. But it was such a turnaround from those fans that were still there after the Attitude Era because it's not what they wanted from wrestling.
Right.
And I gotta say, Rey Mysterio was a great signing because, as you said, he was one of your favorites. Now, he lost his mask when he was in WCW.
Yeah.
So when I heard Rey Mysterio was coming back, I assumed he wouldn't have the mask.
Yeah.
And they brought him back with it, and I'm like, wow, that was genius because you could sell so many of those.
Oh, I know. The amount of outfits that he's in, costumes, whatever you want to call it, he's gone through is crazy. And like you get just like the different colored masks. I had like 3 of them as a kid. Like I can't even imagine what they charged, especially like what they charge now for it. Like they probably made so much money off his, equipment.
Yeah, it was genius. I mean, I bought one of his masks at WrestleMania 35, hoping that I was like, and then when he didn't wear that mask, it has the WrestleMania thing on the back. I go, oh, okay, I thought this would be the mask he'd wear tonight. That's neither here nor there. But I gotta ask this: did they make the right move with Cody losing at WrestleMania 38?
So I was pretty bummed out. I think his story, his like unfinished story thing, is really, really great. I think, everything he's been through and, he's come back. I think that would have been awesome, but I do feel like what they're doing right now with the Bloodline is really cool. I think the Bloodline thing is almost getting dragged out after, Saturday? I think maybe a little bit it's getting a little stale, but I think that story overall might be better than the Cody Rhodes story. But I definitely would have liked to see him win because I'm not really the biggest, Roman Reigns fan.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this. I just gotta ask you this: with the Bloodline storyline, do you think it needs the title?
I mean, the twins don't. I mean, I feel like it's hard to put this guy on a pedestal without a title, and keep him relevant for so long. Like, I don't think they would have been able to keep the storyline going probably till now, or maybe till now, but like if he didn't have a title, like 3 years, like you can't keep that storyline up if the guy like at the top doesn't have the greatest title in the world.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think that was a tough one. I guarantee they didn't make that decision of who was going over until that weekend.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me either.
I mean, I still want Cody to get it. I think we've waited a very long time, and because
I think he will.
Yeah. 2012, he really should have been put in the world title picture, in my opinion. And then they didn't do it then, and then he teamed up with Dustin Rhodes. They had his Gold Dust. They had one of the biggest wins ever against the Shield for the tag titles. That was a really emotional moment. And then a couple months later, here's Stardust. That shit lasted about a month, and then it went on for years.
Yeah.
I still can't believe they did that to this day.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of did him dirty on that. I feel like he didn't deserve that. Like at first, like you said, it worked for, like you said, it should have worked for a month. But after that, it was like it probably should have.
Yeah, I just assumed that like he was gonna go crazy, and then it will lead to a match of the Rhodes brothers at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And from everything I've heard, they thought about it, and then they didn't want to do it. Maybe someone got injured. I don't know, because sometimes it happens in wrestling.
Sometimes real injuries do happen. Yeah.
Injuries happen, and then the writing gets messed up.
I had that conversation with, it might have been my girlfriend's sister yesterday. She goes like, so what about this is real? I was like, the guy that just did a backflip onto the mat, like that was real. Like they took that bump, like that hurts, Like people do get hurt doing this stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't like getting that debate of real, like it's a television show like any other television show.
It's like any movie, any TV show.
It's a running thing. So when people are saying that in 2023, I'm like, they have press conferences after the show talking about decisions made for the booking.
Yeah.
You guys still don't get it? Like, if you don't get wrestling, you don't get wrestling.
Right.
How do you feel about Jimmy turning on Jay?
Oh, I didn't like it, but I wasn't surprised. I don't know, something seemed fishy with the whole initial breakup between those two and Roman Solo, but I definitely was not surprised. I'm sure it's setting up a match, probably between them at the next pay. What's the next pay-per-view? Is it Payback?
I think it's Payback or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I'm sure, like I said, I think that last match should have really been the end of the whole family rivalry thing that got going on now.
Well, I think if you're gonna have the Usos face, I don't think you can just do that right away. I think it's got to WrestleMania is the only place. But I think Jimmy has a legit gripe. He said when he was the one that super kicked Roman, I'm going to do what you should have done a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like Jay was the one that was abused by Roman all that time before Jimmy came back.
Right.
And he just took it. I think Jimmy's like, I put up with all this because of you.
Right.
Is where I think it's going.
No, definitely. There was definitely like subtle hints and things they would say. Like if you really paid attention to it and picked up on it, you could kind of see it coming. I would say someone that's more advanced into like the wrestling thing noticed it, but I watch pretty casually. Like I love it, but I don't watch like every night. It's more of I'll see like the clips and stuff on like TikTok or whatever, and that's how I follow it. But like if you're someone that really is invested into it, that's something you could have probably like seen coming.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't watch every week like I used to, and it I haven't watched SmackDown, like sat down and watched SmackDown in years. But everything they've done with the Bloodline, now you can get the clips, and you're like, man, everything they've done has been just so brilliant.
It's awesome. Like I said, that's why I think that like making him win or choosing him to win at WrestleMania probably was for the better because this story is incredible.
I still think Cody should have won. It's really tough for me to ever say because this is also my issue. We just talked about injuries. I'm the same age as Cody Rhodes. 38 years old, and people are like, man, Brock put him over. I'm like, Brock put over not a young wrestler. Cody has been around for a very long time, he's back into this audience, but this guy is now he's a Hall of Famer anywhere he's been.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact is, like, you know, you get lightning in a bottle. What if Cody gets hurt again?
Yeah.
And you totally miss that. And
which is very possible of happening.
yeah, I mean, you're talking about the lineage of, like, he wants the title that his dad, who is one of the most important wrestlers of all time, never got. And it's like, I just feel like, man, what if he gets hurt and, like, this never does happen?
Right. I actually didn't realize how incredible his dad was until I had a conversation with someone about him, and then I watched the new documentary. I was like, I didn't realize, like, how big of a deal, like, he actually was. Like, I knew who he was. I was familiar, but I didn't realize, like, he was, you know, this great speaker and, like, this all-time wrestler.
Hard times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when I was introduced to Dusty Rhodes, he'd already left WWF because I started watching in '91. And he was more, I just kind of knew him as a color commentator on WCW Saturday Night, you know, and I knew he was a wrestler, but didn't know, like, the whole thing. But
right, the significance
how important
behind him and stuff.
Yeah, with the NWA and all the stuff he did with Flair, like, in the South and all that, like, just very important to the overall wrestling, like, in general.
Wrestling, yeah, overall.
I mean, because, you know, WWF wasn't always number one. Like, if WrestleMania didn't work, Vince McMahon would have been out of business. Like, you know, but I got to ask this. He is the tribal chief. He's the head of the table. He is the number one thing in wrestling. How do you really feel about Roman Reigns?
I think I've actually expressed this to you before. They tried really hard to, you know, to be won over by the fans, if that makes sense. Or, like,
to be the new Cena.
Yeah, and I felt like they really forced it, which I didn't like. And the only I say that really, like, loosely, because when they really gave him, you know, this push and, like, they were trying to force him, I wasn't really watching. Like, I didn't really watch wrestling from most of high school into, you know, the last, like, 2 years. So I don't have, like, I don't say that with confidence, so you take it very lightly, but I just felt like it was really forced. And that's not what I liked. I feel like there's other guys that can just get over, you know, by themselves. They don't need to be, like, pushed down our throats. But I do think the gimmick he has now is incredible. I do think it's great. But I just didn't like how they forced it on us, you know, or what it seemed like to me. No,
for many years I was anti the character. Not you know, like, when he came out and said he had cancer. No one hated Joe Anua or whatever, however you say his last name. The Roman Reigns character was played out. You know, they had him saying suckering succotage on TV. He was corny. Right. He was absolutely corny. And, you know, and then they never really did pull the trigger on him a lot. I remember, you know, the year he was going to face Brock at WrestleMania 31, the fans hated it.
Yep.
And so Rollins ended up with the title because everybody loved Rollins.
Is that the heist?
Yeah. Then Roman wins at Survivor Series. Maybe, was that that might have been a different year. No, I think it was the same year. And then they said, oh, Sheamus is cashing in or something like that.
Yep.
So, like, this constant of, like, where we want you to buy into him, but we're not going to go all the way with it. And then they did at certain times, but it always felt forced. He was older when this happened. It feels very similar to The Rock, you know, with Rocky Maivia, who was never really over as Rocky Maivia, much younger, not a main eventer or anything like that. And they finally turned him heel, and he became The Rock.
Yep.
Roman Reigns, same thing, except he was a main event guy who they finally said, and it was like the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Like, because he left, he was afraid of COVID with the cancer and stuff.
Yeah. And when he came when they were in the Thunderdome, right? Is that when
he finally came back once COVID sort of died down. Not died down, but, like, things were safer by the summer. And they put the title right on him. And when he was with Heyman and everything, I said, oh, this is a different Roman than we've got.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I remember I bought that show up, wreck everybody, leave, or whatever, or wreck everybody. And I bought that shirt. And I hated Roman Reigns, but I was like, I think this is we're finally getting the Roman that we all wanted.
That's how you know it's a good character, when you hate him, and then you're buying a shirt. Yeah. That's how you know it's a good character. It's like, it's good.
Well, I think that what Roman had going was everybody did want to like him.
Yeah.
It was just too corny.
He needed work. He needed a lot of work.
He just needed character change.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no doubt in my mind, you know, that he could have been what he is. It's just they weren't allowing it because, again, WWE, we got to sell merch. You got to have that head baby face. You know, he's got to be the next Cena. He's not Cena. He's Roman Reigns. Yep. Let him be Roman Reigns. Yep. You know, but neither here nor there. But I got to ask this: when will we see you back playing sports?
So like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try to play in that mud football tournament in September. And then if I do, I think I'll be 8 months post ACL, and then I think I'll take probably up to the next 3 or 4 months still just getting my legs strong, because clearly my knees don't hold up as well as I'd like them to. So most ACL return time is 9 to 12 months, and my 9-month mark will be October.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to give myself those extra few, maybe 3 or 4 months to really, get back into the full swing of things like football and basketball and maybe even some softball, I mean, I really enjoy all of them. Personally, I'm thinking it'd probably be around like, January, February kind of thing.
Okay.
As long as I don't need another one. I find out Friday if I need another operation on my knee, which I'm hoping I don't. But as long as things go according to plan, I'm think probably around like January, October.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we'd love to have you back on the softball field for sure.
I missed it. I really did. And it stunk, playing for those 4 or 5 games before I thought I really hurt myself again, knowing that I wasn't even like half the player I was prior to getting hurt, and it is a little sad going out there and knowing just like, it's not like I'm not trying, it's just like I physically can't do this right now.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I mean, I remember when, I tore I don't play flag football anymore. I might play in like the Turkey Bowl and stuff.
Yeah.
When I tore this, I got taken out in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Fractured my ankle, flag football.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes back to that. So you don't see me much. You probably never really see me. Maybe I'll go in for a couple plays at the Turkey Bowl, but you really won't see me out there.
Yeah.
I played rugby. I wrestled. I never got hurt. Flag football, numerous times.
It's crazy. It's weird enough that I think it might be the Nike shoes. I was wearing Nikes when I tore my ACL and my meniscus both times. I was like, well, maybe the Nikes. Yeah. Or the low tops. One of the two, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, injuries are the worst, but we definitely want to see you back out there.
I'd love to. I miss being active. It's really hard to like stay in shape, when you're not running around all the time and playing like today I would normally go and play 2 football games, maybe even 3, So it's really tough. You really got to watch what you eat.
Yeah.
I've been eating like real clean the last like month, but it's not fun. Like normally if I go play 2 football games, work out, run 6 miles during the day, whatever it may be, I can go eat ice cream and a pizza and be like, all right, whatever, who cares? Yeah. But now you really gotta be careful, or else it's noticeable.
I get it. All right, I want to do my favorite segment on the show, buy or sell. I'm going to give you something. You're going to tell me if you're buying or selling. I'm actually going to ask 2 right off the bat.
Okay.
You're not a Patriots fan. I think you're a Chargers fan.
I am a Chargers fan, but...
Is that Kendall Reyes reasons?
No, it's a LaDainian Tomlinson reason. So
okay.
I grew up, I caught a glimpse of him 2008 maybe. Ever since then, I've loved that team. Antonio Gates, Vincent Jackson, Philip Rivers, all those guys loved him. So ever since I was probably like 8.
Just not ringing in the banners and stuff like this.
Yeah, we're lacking in the ring department for sure, but yeah.
I do have a Chargers Flutie jersey.
Dude, that's pretty sweet.
Like I bought that my junior high school at MVP Sports.
Oh, that's so cool.
I still have to this day.
That's great.
Let me just ask this though, as a Chargers fan, not a Patriots fan, but are you buying or selling Bill Belichick in 2023?
I think this is probably the last year I would buy him, if that makes sense. Like they have a new offensive coordinator, right? They don't have a defensive guy coaching the offense.
No, so Matt Patricia's out the door.
Yeah.
And Bill O'Brien was there about 11.
He was great, right?
Ago,
That's so
I wouldn't say great. He was good.
Good.
He knew how to do the job.
Yeah. So I think this would probably be the last year I'd buy. He's clearly struggled without Tom Brady. So yeah, I think I'd give him this year, and after that, I wouldn't say you got to fire him because you're still not going to find like a better coach than him. But I wouldn't expect more. As a Patriots fan shouldn't really expect much more from him. I think if they really can't put it together.
Yeah, because I'm not in the in Belichick we don't question and we trust anymore camp. But you're not going to find a better coach.
No, you're not. So it'd be very silly to fire him because at most there's maybe 2 coaches, maybe better than him right now.
You don't want to end up in this. If he wants to stay here till he retires and let me help him, find the successor. But you fire him and you start opening up the spiral effect, and
then you have a new coach every other year.
Yeah.
And you end up like the Texans.
Yeah.
Where every year you have a new head coach or something.
But I think Bill has done enough not to, we're in the Super Bowl 4 years ago. He did lose Brady, but what's not really being talked about is in 2020 we didn't get the Cam Newton that was Cam Newton that we all knew.
Yeah.
He was a much different Cam.
I wasn't surprised about that, but yeah.
We also had more people sitting out than any other team due to COVID.
Right.
Okay. So that's 2020, not a great season.
Yeah. I think that year, honestly, for everybody, though, should just kind of get a pass,
Yeah. You go into 2021, now you have this rookie, Mac Jones, but you still have Josh McDaniels. You still have an offensive coordinator that listen, they made the playoffs. That team was on a tear for a minute, okay? So it was still they got blown out by the Bills in the playoffs, but it was still a manageable team. But then he lost McDaniels. He didn't find the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing with Patricia. So I look at it as there's one inexcusable season was last year.
Yeah. It's not like, they're winning 4 or 5 games, I mean, they're rotating coordinators kind of thing, and, you had one not great season last year, but I don't know. I don't think you overreact as a Patriots fan. I think, obviously, and I like the Patriots, don't get me wrong, but we're a little spoiled as fans. You expect a championship every year, which is, you don't get that.
It
does not, it was an anomaly that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the Patriots won X amount of Super Bowls in that time frame, So I think people don't realize, this is the reality of things. Maybe you get one every, so many years.
It's what every other team goes through.
Right.
It's just Tom Brady's are 1 in a million players.
Correct.
Are you buying or selling Carmelo Hayes, Christian Casanova?
I like him. I'm not too familiar. I know who he is. I know he's an NXT guy.
Local guy.
I did. I've seen your picture with him actually. But I think he's really good. I think I would hate to see him go up to the main roster and struggle, because from what I've seen in the NXT, he does really well. So that's the only thing I'd say is I don't want to see him struggle when he hits the big stage, But I'd say I'd buy him because I think it'd be hard for him to fail. I think he's really good.
Yeah, I mean he's become the star that we all kind of in the area knew he could be.
Yeah.
I remember watching him, not when he first came in, when he started at 18 years old.
Yeah.
But as the years went on, I was like, man, this guy's he looks like he should be on TV.
Yeah.
He really does.
He just had what was the rating of that match he had 2 weeks ago last week?
I don't know what it was. I haven't got to sit down and watch it, but
someone told me it was a 5-star match. Even if it's not, even if 4.5, having a 4.5-star match, I feel like it's gonna be really hard to fail if you're having matches like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm more of a gimmick guy. I will
Yeah.
say I'm more I love a great match, but I've been following Dave Meltzer since I've been a wrestling fan since the '90s. I'm not always buying into I don't need to see Kenny Omega having 5 Kenny.
Yeah.
Tell me a story that's not just associated with the match.
Right. I kind of feel similar, not as he's not Kenny, but the Ricochet guy, he's one of the craziest athletes I've ever seen. He can do some insane flips, but when you give him a microphone, it's
it's bad. I mean,
yeah.
Shout out to Leo Connors, the Ring of All Sports, because we've talked about this before. Leo said in a show, and I disagreed. He said that Ricochet's going to be the next mega star. And I said, no, he's not. He can do a lot of the in-ring stuff. He's like, no, he's going to be as big as The Rock. I go, he can't talk.
He can't talk, right.
His
in-ring stuff is unbelievable. It's some of the best stuff I've ever seen. But yeah, when you give him the mic, it's like it's watching paint dry. Basically.
I'm telling you, I do love promos and I love stories. I love a great match, but you got to sell me on that stuff.
Right. I could sit and listen to LA Knight talk.
Yeah.
2 hours. Yeah. He's awesome. Me and my girlfriend sometimes just look at each other back and forth and go, yeah. We love him. He's you could listen to him talk forever.
He's been great for a while, and I remember when he was in Impact when I first saw him as Eli Drake, and I said, why is this guy? And then I found out, he was with NXT and they let him go. I'm like, wow, they just let that guy walk out the door?
I have seen some not botches, but not some clean spots from the few matches I've seen him in. So I don't know if that's what's maybe holding him back, but like no one's perfect.
I think he had an attitude when he got to NXT.
Did he?
But I remember he used to have the dummy button. He's like, yeah, dummy, yeah. He hit the dummy button. It was amazing stuff. The National Industrial League, buy or sell?
Oh, jeez. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'll go buy only because I heard, I don't remember who it was. It might have even been you, but a possible new team, adding a new team next year, which is, growth of the league's great. So I'll just off that, I'll go buy.
You got to give it to it. It's been a league for a very long time.
That too, yeah. And it's hard to keep, anything going for how many years has it been going? Do you know?
I think since at least the 80s. I mean, Mark Cappy lived across the street from me growing up, and he was in the league then. So
yeah, it's hard to keep anything going for 50 years. So I'll buy.
It's my home league, and I'll always support it.
Yep.
The Mudcats in mud football, buying or selling?
I'm selling. We're gonna kick their butts when we see them in September. We're gonna have our way with them.
TikTok.
I'm selling TikTok. The only reason I use TikTok is like for the barstool work I do. I can't even really sit there and scroll anymore. It's kind of like I'm just like numb to it or something. I don't know. So I'm selling that actually. I think it's had its moment.
Yeah. We've yet to have anybody buy. I thought you'd be the one because
I'm young.
Yeah. Gen Z.
Oh geez, I don't know. I want to be optimistic and buy, so we'll buy.
All right, buy. It's gonna get better.
Yeah, it's gonna get better. Who knows?
Lead Street School.
Oh, I'm buying all the stock. People I have friends that grew up going to, you could say like better elementary schools or whatever the case may be. I wouldn't have asked for anything different from that place. I loved everything about that place. It was so much fun. I'm buying all the stock in Lead Street School.
Nice. Let's see. MJF.
Ooh, I'm buying. I think I love him a lot. He's great with the mic. He's pretty entertaining. He's also a better wrestler than I anticipated him being before I saw him actually get in the ring. I don't know. Do you think he leaves WWE or for WWE?
If the money's right.
Yeah.
I
think that's the only reason he should.
He has a lot. He's a young guy. He has a lot of time in the business, so he could go there and come back, or he could stay. It won't affect him too much. In 10 seconds, Nick Harrison.
Oh, buying all the stock in Nick Harrison. I'm buying every last percentage of the Nick Harrison stock. That's my boy. It's awesome. My best friend.
He's a good guy, and I think he's got a bright future in the game.
I do too. So. I do too. He's gonna get there. He's starting to play more too, which is good, and I think he's gonna figure it out.
All right, there's your roses, Nick. But John, great show today. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody out there, have a great week. Keep your heads up, and until next time, Left Freedom Ring.